streaming live.
Jesam dobila live na YouTube.
Yes.
Ok, recimo da počnemo.
Sad ćemo samo polako. Evo ga ovaj da krenu.
Evo ga imam.
Počinjemo sada. 3.
Čujem vas.
Samo.
Well, welcome to our panel today, organized by the Regional Cooperation Council and UNDP in Montenegro. My name's Tim Judah. I'm a correspondent for The Economist of London, and I cover the Western Balkans, indeed the whole of the Balkans. Now, it's exactly a year since RCC and UNDP published their important report on women's economic empowerment and set out their proposals for the region in their joint action plan. Now, if you've not read these or seen them, then we'll share the links in the chat box just down there. As in so many other fields in the Western Balkan Six, when it comes to women's empowerment, participation in the workforce, and so on, the data is both unsurprising and shocking. I say unsurprising in the sense that data for whatever metric you choose in the region is bound to lag behind the EU average. But it's also shocking in the sense that all those depressing figures, for example, 2/3 of women of working age in the region are either inactive or unemployed. Only 14% of STEM jobs are done by women. Women own only 27.5% of businesses, and only 14.2% of top managers are women, demonstrate two important truths. Firstly, they show us in stark relief what a huge waste of potential there is in the region. And secondly, they show us secondly, I should say, they show us what huge potential or how many huge opportunities there are for women, for governments and societies as a whole, if those in charge only know how to mobilize them and, of course, have the political will to do so. But how to do this? Well, that's why we're here today, to listen to a great panel of women who've made the breakthrough to the top. But first, to introduce our discussion, we have two of the key women leading the region by example and demanding and driving change. Mylinda Bregu, Secretary General of the Regional Cooperation Council, and Daniela Gashbarikova, resident representative of UNDP in Montenegro and lead of the RCC's and the UNDP's Regional Women's Economic Empowerment Initiative. So, first of all, over to you, Mylinda Bregu.
Good afternoon to everybody. Good afternoon, team, and good afternoon to all the ladies who are connected via Zoom. I pretty like this fora team. So this is one of those good examples when the majority becomes a minority. So you are the only man, I think, here among all of us women.
It makes a very nice change.
Yeah. So it's only you that I see. So please do not feel bad while being a minority today. But again, I'm pretty sure that everybody and yourself as well will be eager to hear what we are doing apart from, let's say, the usual thought-provoking, let's say, or academic writing on the role, importance, and the necessity for women to have a bigger role in the societies. You know that RCC have been like pushing and promoting from at least since 3 years now to have a dimension on deepening the women economic integration and have more women working and being part of the labor market since, let's say, or at least during the last 3 years. And it was not an easy call for us at the time. It was like I would say, even a kind of misunderstanding from our dear friends, colleagues, and the RCC participants who were always asking us and telling myself, you know, gender issue is not something that RCC should take care of. You know, gender equality is not one of the RCC agendas. We should be focused on the regional economic area. Why on women and so on? And it took us a lot of time, definitely, to explain that we are not going to have a focus only on discussing about the importance of gender equality in the society. This goes without saying now. But on the role of women in the region as well to work and to share as well the benefits of their let's say being part and presence in the labor market. So a year ago, in the middle of the pandemic, we started to work together with UNDP to design how we could help the women economic empowerment of the region. And that's how this initiative took like the acronym of WE. I keep insisting to call it WE with one E, so only W and E, because women economic empowerment, E can stand for equality, for economic empowerment. So we, for me, from the very beginning was a bit strange, but nevertheless, this was a decision taken by the experts and the bigger team. So for me, the WE initiative is like us. We started on building up a joint regional framework that spearheads the regional initiatives. And the year after now, we are in the process of starting and establishing the Women Entrepreneurs Hub. Last year as well, with the COVID pandemic and as well going a bit back from 2020, which led to a harsh reality, a harsh socioeconomic, with harsh socioeconomic consequences for women entrepreneurs, affected as well all the sectors where the share of the female employment was higher. And we start having like the first figures of the pandemic, like the closure of the services that were mostly run by women in the region, or business failures as well, that increased the unpaid care and as well increased the responsibilities for women staying at home. If one would Google today the words entrepreneur person, we'll easily find that the results of search are mostly picturing influential men entrepreneurs. And this is not a surprise considering that it is a mannish domain. But while we believe that in thick and thin, we have like good examples of business women in the Western Balkans, and in the last years, we have promoted few of them. You started this Zoom discussion and this fora team with some figures from the region. And yes, we know that women account for only 27.5% of the business owners in the Western Balkans. And just on 14.2% of companies, the top managers are women. Despite an evolving ecosystem of startups and innovation hubs in the Western Balkans, the number of women in the startup remain low, accounting for only approximately from 10 to 12% of the founders. And the gender differences in entrepreneurship remain, and men as well are twice as likely to be self-employed, or usually they run a business, and women, be those their partners or co-workers, are always like standing in the second position. Figures that we hear by all the scholars are like pretty gloomy. It might take 150 years to reach the gender equity, then 25 years to close the current gender gap on economic participation worldwide, and so on. But while the situation in the region, like the figures that I mentioned to you earlier, is not like rosy at all, we think that with the policy actions, and this comes out as well of our studies, with policy actions in place to reduce the gender gap in participation, the raise of the GDP per capita in the Western Balkans 6 can be raised by 1.5% in 10 years time. 5% of the GDP loss exists because of gender gaps in participation, and this is due to the gap of participation of women as entrepreneurs. So if we'll see that the women in the region will be participating in the labor market and not out of them at the same equal share as men are, then the GDP, the regional GDP of Western Balkans can have can be up to 20%. But again, these figures can really look like offering to us an optimistic view of how the situation is going to be in 10 years time, or in more, even in 15 years time. While the major struggles for women today and women entrepreneurs remain like access to finance, guidance and entrepreneurial training. Business women from some of the Western Balkan economies show that women are also lower recipients of government subsidies and grants compared to men. And this is really very, very worrisome. There is a lack of support services to be considered enough as for women to stay long hours out of their homes and out and not attached very, very closely and 24 hours per day to their kids and families. There is a lack of exposure to networking and to the business world. And the women's role as remittance senders is increasing. And this is interesting as well, due to the changing migration trends. But still, they are faced with higher costs, narrow availability of financial products responding to their needs, and lack of guidance on how to use the remittances as a doorway for employment and entrepreneurship. So what we are doing, we are working in, let's say, in two parallels. Firstly, promoting the successful women entrepreneurs from the region as role models. But as well, we should not forget that the women who are entrepreneurs and leading a business, they employ more women than the rest of the businesses where CEO is a man. And on the other side, pushing for the policy improvements. The Regional Women Entrepreneurs Hub, we hope, will enable us to enhance partnerships on women economic empowerment among the stakeholders and spark as well the debate on creating an inclusive and enabling environment, and to address again the challenges and needs of different women entrepreneurs across the Western Balkan region and across key value chains that are part as well of the common regional market that we are looking forward to have and to see in place in the region. But the increasing presence of women as entrepreneurs, and I think you like this a lot, Tim, as well. These as well can lead to the change in the demographic characteristics of business and economic growth of the country. And we know that women-owned businesses and enterprises play an important and prominent role in society because they keep inspiring others, and they create like the snowball effect as well for other women to enroll and to find more employment opportunities in their countries. So here we are up to now. I keep saying that I am never fond pitching on roadmaps, action plans, strategies, long documents, and so on, but on concrete actions, concrete models, and concrete policies and reforms. All the countries of the region now have a prominent gender agenda. You know that there are more women in decision making. There are more women, more than half of the government in Albania is composed of women. But then the other question or the problem is, how much quality and the right models and the right policies do we offer to the rest of the women who are part of the society, not only to those who belong to the, let's say, to the upper part of the decision making. And I think that's how should be like a measure of progress whenever we will consider the story of being successful in promoting women, not only entrepreneurship, but gender equality, as I said at the beginning. So I'll stop here and looking forward to hear from you. Thank you very much.
Great. Well, thank you. That just serves to sort of underline exactly what I was saying. I mean, there's so much waste, but there's so much opportunity there, and so much potential as well. So thank you very much, Mylinda. Now it's over to you, Daniela Gashparikova. As I said earlier, you're resident representative of the UNDP in Montenegro. And you are the lead of the RCC and UNDP's Regional Women's Economic Empowerment Initiative. So over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Tim. Distinguished guests, dear friends, dear colleagues, welcome to this roundtable on women's entrepreneurship. It's a great pleasure to be here with all of you today, as this topic is very close to my heart. So taking from what Ms. Brego said by the way of introduction, today's roundtable is one of the key pillars of a more comprehensive framework that aims to highlight high impact intervention with a potential to drive gender equality in Western Balkans. The regional RCC and UNDP Joint Action for Women's Economic Empowerment presents a strategic vision for a long-term change, delineating actions to strengthen the human capital of women, their participation and leaderships in politics as well as in economy as the key to the inclusive socio-economic progress of the region. So we consciously, with this framework, try to move away from the projectized type of level of the activities and move to the more longer term systematic commitment and working through the challenges in the region, recognizing that they cannot be squared within the results framework of a single project. So we are aiming to strengthen women's capabilities to participate in the growth processes while recognizing the value of the economic contributions the women are making and enable fairer distribution of the benefits of the growth that we all hope to see as part of the recovery from the COVID. The drivers of change reflected in this framework very much mirror the needs of the region in the area of gender equality and women's economic empowerment. Last but not least, this framework is also very much a call for the joint efforts to be directed towards regional networking that mobilizes women in business, policymakers, stakeholders, and improves the regional dialogue and raises the need to recognize and systematically address also existing biases that oftentimes represent the barriers to the progress on the so-called virtual ladder of the prosperity of the region. While the pandemic, as we speak, still continues, and very much we hear also to continue to hear the predictions of the shocks still to reach the Western Balkans from anticipated unemployment rate, our collective attention, we believe, should now turn to protecting women's livelihoods, as well as to forging more qualitative improvements in the types of the jobs and livelihoods and income generation opportunities the women have, given that 23% of the total employed women in the Western Balkans are still in the insecure jobs. While many women risk losing their job opportunities or current jobs, or seeing their wages decrease also as a consequence of the increases we witnessed during the COVID, in the domestic burden, Western Balkan also women continue to perform on average 3 times more unpaid work than men. In paid work, we also see the women account still for almost 80% of workers in low-paid care sectors. So all of this has contributed already before the pandemic, but will also continue to pose the barriers and some of the challenges that women will face, both in protecting the employment, but also seeking the entrepreneurial opportunities, which ideally we would like to see addressed as part of the broader economic and social recovery plans and the actions in the region. Having said that, what we are witnessing in the Western Balkans, and I think Ms. Breko has hinted on it a little bit, is that even when we have highly qualified women finishing the tertiary and higher education, the school to work transition is not creating income generation opportunities and is not necessarily happening at the scale and speed, even for the women with the higher education, with the more expanded capabilities. And we have witnessed this, for example, with a still very low participation, which is around 40% of women in the sectors which are very closely linked to science, technology, engineering, and math. That's why, with close partner cooperation and coordination being key principle to the advancement of gender equality, for UNDP and RCC initiative, we have no lesser ambition than to contribute to turning this crisis into an opportunity. Through the crisis, we have learned that it's possible to do things differently, for example, by creating greater acceptance of remote working models, accelerating digitalization, and increasing the visibility of alternative forms of the leadership. As a co-leader of the United Nations System Socioeconomic Responses, UNDP has prioritized gender-responsive social protection and women's economic recovery, and we advocated very strongly in close to 50 countries around the world, including through the initiatives such as stronger support to women-led micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, or through adequate and systematic addressing of gender gaps in the digitalization current, but also those that are foreseen due to the risks that digitalization brings about. And we also hope that these have created the advancement and more opportunities for women to tap into the jobs of the future. However, I believe that collectively we can still do much more. The UNDP UN Women recent global COVID-19 gender response tracker shows that while 130 countries and territories have adopted more than 500 fiscal and economic measures to help businesses weather the crisis, still only 10% of these measures aim to strengthen women's economic security and activity. So that's why today we are here with entrepreneurs, with the women in the business who are champions of change in their own right. And we are fortunate that they are willing to share with us the rich experience and their perspective on overcoming financial exclusion, gender digital divide, or grappling with burden on unpaid care work. Thank you all very much for being here today with us and be willing to contribute to unleashing women's entrepreneurial potential in the Western Balkans region.
Great. Well, thank you very much. And if I had to take away one word from that, again, it would be the word opportunity. Okay. You mentioned entrepreneurs, and we've got entrepreneurs on our panel, but before we get to them, we've got a video prepared for us by the RCC with messages from 6 entrepreneurs from across the region.
Just listen to him.
Moja poruka ženama da se udružuju, da stvaraju svoje kooperativne grupe preko kojih će ostvarivati svoje ciljeve u borbi za prava u društvu i politici, u okruženju, u porodici.
Unë besoj që gratë janë të vetëdijshme për potencialin e tyre intelektual, po besoj se duhet bërë më shumë që ato të rrisin potencialin e tyre qeverisës dhe ta ushtrojnë atë çdo ditë.
Vendos me një ëndrën tem edhe me u bë gruaja që unë dua. Ti mundesh me bë të njëjtën. Vetëm duhet më dëgju zemrën edhe duhet më dëgju gruan.
Не се плашете да сонувате, не се плашете да ги остварите своите соништа. Моќта на природата е во нас жените. Ние сме задолжени за похумано општество. Слушајте ги жените.
Well, it would be authentic. And one tip how to get there is actually surrounding yourself with other authentic women.
Well, I would say it's not easy and you'll face many problems on your business journey, but do your research good and make a solid plan. Be prepared and be persistent. Eventually, all the efforts you'll invest, and of course you will invest part of your soul, will pay off.
Great. Okay, well, we're about to start our panel. I would like to make just one comment first of all. We will have no live questions. So, but if you've got questions or if you've got some comments, please put them in the chat box, and then my colleagues will, depending on the time, pick out some of the questions. And don't forget to say who you are. Now, we're coming to the panel. We've got Daniela Arsovska from Skopje, North Macedonia, Sabina Softic from Bosnia and Herzegovina, Linda Shomo from Albania, Donieta Sahaciu from Kosovo, Angela Jokic from Montenegro, Violeta Jovanovic from Serbia, and Alexandra Kostova from DG NIR at the European Commission in Brussels. So first of all, we are going to speak to Daniela Arsovska. Are you there, Daniela? Hello? Yes, you are. Okay, great. Good. You've had kind of long experience.
Yes, I'm here.
Great, cool. Okay, well, you're the, in case anyone doesn't know you, but because you're quite new on the scene, you're certainly politically, you're the new mayor of Skopje. But up until now, you've had quite a long experience with chambers of commerce, the World Bank, employers organizations, and so on. So actually becoming the mayor seems to be quite a transition. Public institutions play an important role in advocating for gender equality. So how can your position further the cause, and what can you do as mayor to support female entrepreneurship? And cities are increasingly talked of as ever more important political and economic actors in and of themselves. So, is there a role that they can play in women's empowerment in the Western Balkan Six? So over to you.
Thank you. Well, as you're probably well aware, the role of women in Macedonian society is, of course, important, as in any society, but yet the percentage of women which are involved, especially in the private sector in senior corporate position, are below the European average. So not only the senior corporate position, women entrepreneurs, women in senior management, women in key political positions are, of course, here, as you have probably seen throughout your experiences through the Western Balkan 6 countries, they're below the European average. So this is something which should be our overall goal. This new city government, as you said, this is a local government. I have been into the private sector until now for the past over 20 years, and hopefully doing and lobbying and being someone who has stood the ground for the women entrepreneur in these past 20 years, but still there's a lot of work to be done. As you know, in the public sector, there's always some guaranteed quota, which in the private sector we do not see. And even though by legislation women are expressed to be equal, they still are not offered the equal possibilities, the equal opportunities, and also they do not have the opportunity to be equal when advancing in their career is in question. So this is something that we should probably work together jointly to have a better success, and also to increase the percentage of these women. This new city government, with the program which I have for the city of Skopje 2021-2025, has a strategic commitment, and that is for the city of Skopje to support women entrepreneurs, to support women leaders. And this is why we have decided, this has also been promoted in this program for the upcoming years, the program for Modern Skopje, for us to create a council to support women entrepreneurs. This will be a platform where all the stakeholders, which are at this moment representing the women entrepreneurs, but also some women entrepreneurs which have been shown through society to stand their ground and to offer some new perspective on national level, are to be invited, and this council will work for the benefits in order for us to be able to show some advancement in this perspective in the following year or so. We are paying attention as a city of Skopje to the gender budgeting. This is something which is highly important. We are thinking on how to start building some gender equality policies in the city administration. This until now has not been imposed, if you might say so. For everything else, we have them, but for this, unfortunately, women are considered to be equal, even though the opportunities are not there. To be deemed to be considered equal, you need to have the equal opportunities, not just to be equal in front of the law, but also to be able to implement this in practice. And we can see that this is not so until now. And we will continue to create financial support programs for women who will start their entrepreneurial story. So these are all questions which are to be raised, especially in the following period, because through the Council for Support of Women Entrepreneurs, the Skopje city will actually cooperate with the national, with the international institutions and organizations. Our goal is to enable increased economic empowerment of women and to offer them financial independence, especially for those who are in startups in the private sector. So these are some of the things that we have planned so far, because as you know, since I became mayor, and I do believe with high quality policies, we will be able to achieve significant results in the following 4-year period. Of course, we are open for cooperation. I see many strong women leaders here today on this panel, and gentlemen as well. And hopefully in the following period, we'll be able to establish a certain contact to be able to cooperate, to collaborate for the greater good. And of course, for the end goal to help women entrepreneurs hubs here in the country. And one of these projects which we have is actually in line with this agenda, and that's establishing an innovation hub, which will be a strong support for women in this manner.
Great. Well, thank you very much. Well, great. Well, there's obviously kind of loads of stuff that you're doing, so that's good news. It's also interesting that perhaps it's the zeitgeist. You're not the only woman mayor to have recently come to power, because of course Sarajevo too also has Benjamina Karic recently elected to mayor. So maybe this is the beginning of righting an unequal wrong. Okay, well, actually, mentioning.
Well, thank you.
Sorry, go on.
Yes, because you mentioned it, I had a chance to personally meet Sarajevo Mayor just 2 weeks ago, and although she has been in mandate since April, this April it will be 1 year. I think that she is doing a fantastic job. And that's just only one sign to see that if the right person is put in the right position, and even if it's a strong woman, that women can really contribute and can show that right changes can be done in society if they are given the right opportunities. So I think that we should support these fantastic examples. She is quite a young, she's quite enthusiastic, and I do believe that with the right support, she's going to set a great example in the region.
Super, great. Well, thank you very much. And mentioning Sarajevo, Sabina Softic, I don't know whether you're in Sarajevo. I assume that you probably are. But what I do know for sure is that you're managing partner of Deloitte Bosnia and Herzegovina and integrated business services leader at Deloitte Central Europe. And in your sector, you are clearly one of the most senior women in business in the region, and you've been actively advocating for initiatives and programs supporting women and girls, like mentorship programs, startup programs, etc., etc. And perhaps you can tell us what are some of the key lessons you've learned from these initiatives, what works and what doesn't, and what can we draw from these experiences in designing a regional women entrepreneurs hub. So over to you, Sabina Softic.
Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for having me on this panel. Yes, indeed. Over the past couple of years, I tried to build a very strong female network of very successful businesswomen, mainly C-level businesswomen from Bosnia and Herzegovina, and we have built mentorship program to support young talents from whole Bosnia and Herzegovina in advancing, in improving their personal and also professional skills, aiming to support equality of women in Bosnia and Herzegovina and broader. We did that because I was and many other businesswomen were fortunate to work in firms where women are equal, and when there are fair and objective KPIs and factors needed for promotion. However, especially in Bosnian society, this is not a fact, and we wanted to do something to change that. If you ask me what works well with mentorship, or why we believe the mentorship is the right answer to support women in their advancement, there are two sets of reasons. First is business. Business reasons. It is good for the business. It is good for any cause, because half of the world's population are women. If you are in the public sector, if you are in the business sector, half of the people you are providing public service, or half of your customers are women. So you need to assure that you have a diverse team that will support meeting objectives and meeting expectations from these customers or from these people that you are supposed to serve. The other part is far more important. Aside of being the right thing for business to do, I think it is the other positive impact of mentorship is really helping women to progress, helping them to build their skills. If you are asking what are the key takeaways from mentorship programs, I would say we are encouraging young women by providing them role models, by providing them to real examples with people who they can really relate to, talk to, because very often these young women have doubts whether they're capable of doing something. And once they see that these doubts were something that we dealt with in the beginning of our career, and once we share with them how we climbed the ladder, how we climbed the position, I think it is much, the chances that they will stick to it and that they will succeed in their career are much bigger. By giving them role models, by giving them structured path for their personal and professional empowerment, development, we empower them. We empower them, provide them, help them to build self-confidence, also self-awareness, which is needed if they want to really progress, work on their personal skills, work on their networking skills, build their internal and external brand, and really realize their potential. Very important key element of the mentorship program is building the network. As somebody said in the opening speech, women very often lack networking opportunities because of the multiple roles they have in their life. Also because of very conservative or traditional societies we live in. And once you have this kind of mentorship program, it's almost kind of safe zone for them. And then they actually network much easier if they know that there is an aim, there is a goal of this mentorship, and also that there are women like them. So it is much easier I would say it is much easier for them to take the chance and join the group. Why it is also important to what we see as a positive of this mentorship program, and I would say very similar things could be said for startups, is that you are exposed, or young women are exposed to new and different perspectives. So it is also knowledge sharing opportunity. The program we recently organized was very big success. And one of the comments I really appreciate is that many men from business society came to us and said, well, we wish there is a program like that for the young male talents, because the quality of the program was recognized as very good. And actually people have understood that this is not only good for women, but in general, we need to provide our talents with similar opportunities. What is the risk? I think the risk is that there are too many different projects. And I think we are running the risk of everybody doing their own work. So I would say, if we really want to make a strong impact, we need to build alliances. This is why I'm grateful that on the project we organized last year, we had SCC and UNDP support, we had EBRD, IFC support, we had support from 50 different businesses in Bosnia and Herzegovina. And I think this is why we believe that the project will continue to be successful, because there is a power of a big group, power of a big group of strong, successful female leaders, and also power of strong potential female leaders that will take on and I hope build and expand the program to the new network. If we are talking about the startups and startup community, I think the issues are similar for different reasons, but also issues related to the women are similar to different reasons. As you mentioned, there is a quite low number of women in STEM jobs. Why? Because this also goes to traditional role of women in our country. If you would ask my mother, who is 73 years old, whether she likes my job, she doesn't, because she would prefer me to be a teacher or kindergarten teacher, because then, she knows that I will take care of my family, of my kids. This is for her the role of the perfect women. And this strongly impacts still our young talents. In startup communities, it is important to get involved, not only to support women, but in general. We know that 50% of startups survive the first 5 years. There is a lack of, I would say, expertise outside of the subject matter, which is focus of particular startup. So by building startup communities, accelerators, we are providing businesses investor access. We act as an intermediary to also help them reach to the customers they are building their startups for, and also giving them support by access to different skill set of the professionals, to the development of their own skill set. We are helping them to put the appropriate risk management framework, and all of these are very, very important, and I would say even crucial for the success of startups. So in general, I would say, I hope that one day and very soon we will stop talking about female leadership and we will start talking about the leadership as such, and we will stop talking about the women in startups, but we will talk about the startups that even they're separating any initiative by gender will become not needed. And once we are there, then truly we can talk about equality and we can talk truly about equal opportunities.
Great. Well, thank you very much. That was fascinating. I'm, obviously a man in my 50s, so I'm not the one really to talk about, in theory, about mentorship for young women. But I can just say from experience of one of my own daughters is that a mentorship for young women, which did a little bit for one of my daughters. It was only a little bit, but it was absolutely 100% crucial. She lacked a bit of self-confidence. She was given the contacts and she's been off like a rocket. And that was thanks to exactly one of those mentorship programs that you've been talking about. Okay, well, thank you very much. Okay, now we're going to Linda Shomo in Albania, your CEO of EasyPay. Different studies show that women entrepreneurs are likely to be in technology than in other sectors. And according to Eurostat, only 5% of leadership positions in tech are held by women. So it can obviously a lot less than even in other sectors. Obviously, you're one of them, but can you tell us how your experience can be replicated, especially in the Western Balkans, and perhaps especially with exactly those kind of traditional norms and inherited prejudices that Sabina's just been talking about? And what do we need to know in order to make concrete steps with regard to the entrepreneurial community of the RCC and UNDP in particular that they're trying to build? What are the, give us some advice on this. Okay, so over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Tim, for the question, and thank you for inviting me in this panel. As well as I wanted to congratulate the RCC and UNDP for this amazing initiative of creating this Women Entrepreneurial Hub. Before I answering directly to your question, I wanted to share my experiences with women entrepreneurship community, as well as with my know-how in the fintech sector, which I'm investing almost from 11 years. Regarding women entrepreneurship community, I've been participating last years in two great initiatives. One of them was Brilliant Entrepreneurship, which was a kind of regional hub and program directed from Dutch government, which included Kosovo, Macedonia, and Albania. And there we had a chance to be around maybe 20 women from these three countries who got very, very good trainings. And apart from creating good networks and having mentorship. As well as another initiative from Ernst & Young in 2019 called Entrepreneurial Winning Women. I was selected from Albania, and there we were around 29 women from I think from 15 countries, something like that, which was again a very good program who trained us and created a good network. And from these two initiatives, I can say that I had the chance to meet my two best mentors, which mentors I still have, and we talk together quite often. These ladies, so as I mentioned, we created this kind of network for whatever need we have regionally. We talk to each other. One of the ladies I met in Western Balkan Summit, we were in the same panel, as well as one of the ladies I saw right now, Marta, was part of the video you showed. So these initiatives are very good for creating this network and for meeting the right mentors. Regarding the fintech sector in Balkan, fintech sector, as you already know, it's about all these innovative ideas entering in financial sector. So all these companies, the main pillar is technology, and for this reason, there is the gender diversity is still an issue even for this sector. So we saw this with a low number of women present in the staff of the fintechs. But I fully agree with previous speakers that in companies that are led by women are more women employed. For example, in EasyPay, we have 60% of staff are women, but unfortunately, I can say that in IT department, only 9% are women. So we have only one girl. So hopefully to correct this balance soon. As well in fintech sector, the founders are quite a few. So the number of founders are quite low. And as well, the users are still, female users of these innovative solutions are still low. I'm sharing the numbers in mobile payments in Albania, for example, from our statistics from EasyPay. Unfortunately, 70% are men and 30% are women in usage based. So we need for sure to work together and increase this number. Last year, it was issued a report, finally a report for Balkans, FinTech in Balkans. Very good report from World Bank and University of Cambridge, which showed that nowadays there are, at least last year, the number of FinTechs in Balkan is 67. Which is still a low number comparing with the revolution, the FinTech revolution that is happening in Europe, and I will explain why. I'm just giving an example. Bulgaria has right now 141 FinTechs, and from the employees, 48% are women. So we have a long way to go to the European standard. Anyway, the opportunities in FinTech sector, I need to mention, is that the Payment Service Directive 2, the European initiative that changed the landscape of FinTechs totally in Europe, which was implemented in 2018. And this has brought the FinTech revolution in Europe. And this is happening right now in Balkan countries. The PSD2 is being implemented in Albania. The new payment law was approved last year and is entering into force in 2022. And this Payment Service Directive is changing totally, we hope, the landscape of FinTechs in Balkans. So I'm very optimistic that the number of FinTechs will grow, and together with the number of FinTechs, we will see more women entrepreneurs leading this sector. Regarding the hub we are mentioning, as mentioned previously from other panelists, we need to focus. Why this hub is very good? We need to focus on access to information, because often the women entrepreneurs, especially the small companies, are not able to get access about different initiatives in innovative solutions or EU projects or international institutions initiatives. As well, access to capital is very important. So hopefully through having this hub, this regional hub, the members of this hub will have more access to information about funding, attracting funding, which is a big problem for business in Balkan. As I mentioned previously, it's good because we can serve as role models for startups and for young generation, because when they see our success and we can share with them our experience, it will be much easier. And we know that mentor-mentee relationships is mainly a kind of friendship. It's much more successful when there is a friendship relationship, when we meet and when we talk, and these hubs are very good for this. As well as I mentioned, so expanding relationship and mentorship. These are things are the main topics which I think will be the main role of this hub.
Great. Well, thank you very much indeed. Let's swing north now to Donieta Sahaciu in Kosovo. You're the CEO of Rota, a digital communications agency. apart from running your own company, you're also the founder of Women in Tech Kosovo and Women in STEM Kosovo, which work to encourage women entrepreneurs in these sectors. You know, from your experiences, perhaps you could give us what, you know, some of the more important takeaways. What are the most, let's say, 3 most important things that young women in business, you know, need to know, according to you and according to your experience?
Thank you, Tim. First of all, a warm virtual greeting to everyone, and especially each and every one of you, the established or future women entrepreneurs that are listening to this discussion via the live stream or are interacting already with the discussion in the chat. Really, I thank you for your time and dedication to increasing the participation of women and their impact in our economies. I am very much pleased, I should say, to witness and agree with the previous speakers that highlighted the opportunities, but especially the huge potential we have in working together for the common goal of actually building this hub. Yes, I am Donieta. I'm joining from north of Pristina, Kosovo, trying to give my 2 cents from the perspective of the entrepreneurial journey as a woman and the context of such in Kosovo. I've been involved in the business segment over the past 13 years, 10 of which I've spent growing myself and Rota, the digital agency in Pristina, exporting solutions to the world. And with that turned out to be one core mission dear to my heart: breaking the stigma of women working in and yet alone leading successful businesses in a male-dominated industry such as the ICT sector, while also advocating, as you mentioned, Tim, through different organizations and initiatives such as Women in STEM, Women in Tech, Women in Business, for equal access to education, workforce opportunities, merit-based growth, and wages. I've mentored hundreds of women-led businesses from ideation to implementation and then, of course, scaling. Although I believe I belong to the mere 12% of active businesses led by female owners in Kosovo, I am relieved to say that we have come a long way. Today, I am no longer the single woman representative in a meeting discussing technical solutions for my people, my government, the community I belong and I live in every day. Today, I no longer need to argue for acceptance, that there isn't another man boss coming in and closing a deal in the work that I do. Actually, as Ms. Begu and then also Ms. Shomo mentioned previously, women CEOs have a tendency to hire more women compared to men CEOs. That is so very true. And obviously, it is my story. And we do not simply hire because of gender, but we hire trying to give an opportunity, giving their skill set a chance to grow. Today, I take pride, along with my teammates, in celebrating a 50-50 ratio of women to men employed at Rota, which are developers, designers, and project managers. So they are the resources we have in the team and not just an admin team. I know many other companies that have either achieved or are working to achieve the same. Today, we have a substantial increase of women studying and entering the ICT sector in Kosovo, whom are then helping other women entrepreneurs in different sectors, digitizing their processes, digitizing their products, and ultimately becoming financially independent. Because this is how we support one another. This is how we tell new generations that this is possible. I also find role models to be crucial, as Ms. Shomo mentioned, because really, until you see people in leadership positions who look and sound like you, it is very difficult to believe that you could one day make it there. Role models, I believe, can function as inspirational examples, not only for success, but also for failure and how you then turn that failure into success, illustrating the kinds of achievements that are possible for women around them. We can demonstrate that it is possible to overcome traditional barriers. Besides, in promoting role models, I believe that diversity is also helping next generation leadership in encouraging new, unconventional ideas. The presence of women in ideation processes in a business is statistically bringing differences in problem solving, because we have different sources of inspiration. We have different approaches. We are building businesses that go beyond our personal gains, businesses that are making a social impact for our families and the communities we live in. But again, yes, we do have lots and lots to do. As elsewhere, the pandemic has hit the economic empowerment of women, and I can also see that in the startups. Last year, 2.3% of funding alone went to women-led startups globally, while this year we have shown a record high of women elected by preferential votes and not by the gender quota we have here in the Assembly of Kosovo. Only 14% of active businesses are founded by women in the last 10 years. The technology is not only helping us, it's also disrupting at the same time. And I believe that we as women need to acknowledge the advantages as well as the threats of stereotyping as a result of new generations of artificial intelligence and troublesome digital gap. Though I'm not a fan of gender labeling myself, and I so look forward to not having to delineate between the capabilities of each gender. And I think that's our next challenge. And I'm very happy to see that we all together, we share the same values, we have the same goals, the same lessons learned. So we start today, I think, here together.
Great, cool. That's really inspirational. Great, thank you so much. Okay, we're now going to go to Angela Jokic in Montenegro. You're manager of Europe Strategic Alliance at My Guide Network, and My Guide Network is actually based in Holland. Perhaps you'd like to tell us something about some of the differences between setting up a company there and Montenegro, and tell us, based on obviously on your experience, what you've learned as a woman entrepreneur about the trends in this sector, both in the region and the rest of Europe.
Hello, everyone. Hope you can hear me well.
Yes,
I'm happy to be with you today, and I'm happy to see all these magnificent ladies sharing their experiences and being able to manifest what they achieved and how they did it. And we all know how it's difficult to do it in Balkans, and how strong you need to be to reach your goals and to follow your ideas and to be well motivated to continue. As you said, Tim, yes, I'm part of the global network of online travel guides, and it's called My Guide Network. We are based, actually, the company is founded in the Netherlands, but we work all around the world, and we have over 100, I think now, active destinations. What we do is promoting travel businesses and travel destinations where we work at. And what I'm proud of is that we are actually the only network of such kind in the world that is supported by local experts, how we call us. So basically, My Guide Montenegro is supported by me and my team on the ground. And I need to tell that 75% of my team is women. Us in Montenegro, we present the destination of Montenegro to the world. We work with many businesses, and basically the strategy and the model of the business is similar in every country. What is different, as you mentioned, as your question was, is actually how different it is to connect the institutional offerings or the opportunities that we have here in the Balkans, or precisely in Montenegro, to just make the actual parallel with the ones in the EU or precisely Netherlands. This is where we lack a bit of support, because I think that institutional lack of knowledge is a bit problematic in the Balkans. When you reach to some institution and you seek for some help, doesn't matter in this case if you are men or women, it is actually problematic, who is in charge of dealing with your thing, who is the person who is going to give you the support, and who is the person who is going to proceed your case further on. This is what happened to me many times in Montenegro with all the funding institutions, finance support, and such things, because basically you are facing with the person who is not understanding what you are looking for and what you need. When I go and do the parallel in the Netherlands, it's different because actually the government is giving you the opportunities. They are telling you what are the strategies for the next periods to come. And then you can actually apply with your ideas to be supported, to be funded, because you are actually following the path of the government or of all the progress of the country. This is what EU, by my opinion, does well, and what we in Western Balkans should do as well better. So this is why I'm always thrilled to be connected with like-minded people in the Balkans. And I am proud to say that I have been part of many projects so far that are connecting all the Western Balkan countries. And the women here are more motivated than men. Even if the society is still conservative, even if we are still very patriarchal, this is not the point when it comes to women in business. I never met even single one in the Balkan that is not motivated the same way as these women that you see here today. And all of us, we support each other. We are tending to creating communities. And that is what I also decided to do with one of my close friends and colleague in business. So how it all goes, we need to be, at least on the micro level, we need to be a role model to everyone who wants to work with us. And if we have any foreign experience, and if we have any good examples from abroad where we worked or we work, we should bring them to the Balkans. We should support all the communities with women that are in the business and just present it on our own level, on our own examples. And I think that will help us rather than going from top to bottom, going from bottom up and creating a community that is going to give even a micro example that is functioning well, but still supporting women in business and giving, let's say, a difference compared to the majority of the market. So yeah, I wouldn't say much more on this topic. I believe that we still have time to hear other women here, but happy to connect and happy to discuss furthermore. Thank you.
Great. I mean, you mentioned community and connecting,
yeah.
But if I'm right, it's anybody who wants to connect should do it through iconicvoid.community on Instagram. Is that correct?
That's true. That's what I wanted to mention as well. That is the community, informal community that I created with my friend. It's connecting millennial ladies. So we are actually putting up our generation, which is a transit generation, especially in the Balkans, that was disconnected with. We actually jumped in the digital kind of progress, and we needed to learn or by ourselves. And the thing is that we really pushed this and wanted to make to find like-minded women, not from Montenegro but from all around the world, with strong focus on Balkans, where we want to just support the community to grow.
Okay.
You want to say something?
No, thank you. I'm just worried because we're like overrunning time.
I know. That is why I wanted to stop here. Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
I mean, we are overrunning time, so we're going to have less time for questions. But I would encourage people, if you've got some questions or if you've got some comments, do put them in the chat, and we will try and get some. Try and get some of them in if we have time. Okay. Now, Violeta Jovanovic in Serbia, you're president of the steering committee of Ethno Network. Women's businesses in the region tend to be on the smaller end of the scale. I think that might have been said already, and many of them perhaps in the grey zone, in inverted commas. But it's these businesses which have been hardest hit by the pandemic. What needs to be done, according to you, to help these women and micro entrepreneurs? And perhaps you can reflect on women working in rural areas too. So over to you, Violeta.
Thank you, Tim. Greetings, dear colleagues from Belgrade. I feel really privileged to be a part of this panel, and I'd like to thank the organizers for inviting me. In my professional capacity, I'm the Executive Director of NALED, which is a Belgrade-based NGO and a think tank that deals with business environment and is very actively engaged with all of the economies in the Western Balkans. So I believe there will be more opportunities for us to connect also in my voluntary capacity, which is the president of the managing board of a national federation called Ethno Network, which is an umbrella organization that gathers crafts associations, cooperatives, and micro entrepreneurs, mostly women living in country and in rural areas who are dealing with handicrafts. This organization was set up around 2005 with the help of USAID in Serbia, and its mission was twofold. Primary was to work on preserving our cultural heritage and identity. However, to link the culture with economy and to help women who are mostly those dealing with handicrafts to improve their skills and to create a marketable item that can provide a source and income and employment. So we started in 2005, and up to now, more than 1,000 women from all over Serbia very directly benefited from our programs, and we helped more than 100 of those to get employed. 50 women got their first time formal employment with the help of Ethno Network. Many made it to retirement because many of our members are also senior women who lost their jobs in privatization and transition, and they have difficulty finding new employment in communities where they live. So this is, again, an area where the skills that they have that are passed on by their mothers and grandmothers can now be put to a good use and made into a business. What's also interesting about Ethno Network is that is a marketing channel because we struggle with galleries and shops in Serbia where these items will be offered. So we came up with an alternative way to the market. We're promoting and branding these items as business and diplomatic gifts. And key buyers are companies and government institutions who are using them as representation. This is not important only from the perspective of the market. It matters even more so as a tool for empowerment, because it's an important message to the ladies that what they do matters and makes a difference for all of us, and is something that is so special and exquisite that is deserving of top government officials and diplomats who come to Serbia. Another angle I wanted to share, which I believe is common to all of our economies, and women and youth also in rural areas, is that they are usually marginalized, both financially and in terms of participating in their communities. And in COVID, we also had a surge in home violence, so we had to deal with that. 50% of rural women that we work with are jobless, and they before they get engaged with us, they mostly operate as informally. They're not registered, and they sell directly for cash, and they do not have any coverage, fringe benefits, social benefits, so health insurance. This is a challenge. So there is a great risk of them falling into poverty, and that's why we put forward the element of income as a cornerstone of our work, because it's a a path to self-reliance and their empowerment. Also, what hinders us, I think Sabina spoke about this as well, are these gender roles and this traditional way of upbringing, because women in the countryside are often hindered by this burden of family work and the roles that they're expected to assume, even if they're well educated and ambitious. So this is something that we're trying to deal with, also with mentorship programs. Someone spoke about it, because it's important for also younger women who get a good education to be empowered and to have a network for support, so that they get to choose what they want to do and be in life. In terms of measures that we propose, and I'll close with this, as a response to these challenges that we are facing with this target group, is that we are trying to lessen this social and economic consequences of the pandemic, but also beyond. And we're always working with them on skill development, because we want to make them into professionals. When we talk about handicrafts, it's mostly women who do it as a hobby, which means that their products are not good enough to be taken to the market. So we help them specialize and professionalize. And when we talk about skill development, it's not just the production techniques, it's also marketing, it's promotion, it's design, it's presentation. It's a full package, so that they get a master class in handicrafts, and they're ready to go to the market and to make their business formal. We also do workshops to grow their self-reliance, and we had a big focus on this in the pandemic, because this was very much needed, and it was most helpful, and they responded so readily, and they loved it. We also do public works that may not be known to everyone, but this is a measure for engagement of the long-term unemployed for, let's say, 3 to 6 months a year, and it's paid by the government as a measure for work engagement. And this comes as a very helpful measure for the ladies that we work with, because they get to be employed and paid. They do a product that is used again by the protocol of the mayor or a government institution, so they're doing something valuable for the society, and they get to practice to meet the standards. So it's the most useful measure that we are able to offer to them. We also do a lot of juried competitions and contests, so that they try to compete and get public recognition, and also get prizes and awards for and get recognized for what they do. And we are also advocating for tailor-made measures for these groups. So not just like a call, a generic one for all NGOs, and whoever is there can apply. That's welcome. However, it doesn't help much, because these groups oftentimes need help in branding and packaging their products. They need help in getting certification of origin, inscription in the heritage lists, certain crafts certification programs, so to become to formalize what they do and to become recognized by institutions and eligible for all kinds of measures. And then these marketing channels that again help them not only make income, but get recognize and get self-value and self-confidence, because this is what helps them in becoming successful. So this is a very vulnerable group that we work with, but we have excellent results, and this is also a model that we'd like to share with the rest of the region and connect, because we see such examples in the neighboring countries, and this is definitely an area where we can communicate visually, non-verbally, and respect each other's identity and culture. Thank you once again for making us a part of the panel, and I'm really looking forward to continuing the exchange.
Great. Well, thank you very much. And I have to say, I've been, the last year I've done quite a lot of these Zoom panels, and they're mostly about politics and mostly dominated by men. And they're mostly kind of very gloomy, and kind of what a relief and how refreshing it is to have people talking about opportunities and things that can be done and being optimistic. It's really, I mean, refreshing is really the best word. Okay, we're going to shift gear slightly now with our last panelist, and we're going to speak to Alexandra Kostova. I say shift gear because you're not an entrepreneur. You're at DG NEAR at the European Commission. I assume that you're in Brussels, but I mean, maybe you're not physically in Brussels, but presumably your office is theoretically in Brussels. Perhaps you could tell us what sort of instruments and policies DG NEAR has. Oh, sorry, I should have said you're project manager for Western Balkans Regional Cooperation and Programs at DG NEAR. I mean, what policies and instruments does DG NEAR have for providing, or is it planning to provide for entrepreneurship in general? But obviously we're particularly interested in women's entrepreneurship here. So over to you.
Thank you. You're right. Yes. Since the age of 23, I've always been in the public administration, in the Bulgarian Ministry for Foreign Affairs for 10 years, and for the last 7 years in the European Commission. And women face challenges everywhere, but I can speak only for the public administration. And I never had the courage, like most of you ladies here, to build my own business. So my role here will be mostly from the other side, from the side of the European Commission, who is the biggest donor in the region and who is supporting many initiatives and many programs in the Western Balkans. The question is quite broad, and to respond to it sincerely, there are many initiatives who are targeting women empowerment and gender, but as a pressing need, many of them are linked to the policy and legal aspects, mostly working with national authorities to combat violence against women, and not so much, I would say, to specifically target women entrepreneurship. Despite this fact, there was a study we recently launched together with OECD on the partnering for great investments in gender equality and women's rights. And it's true that the outcome of it shows clearly that we need also at this stage to target more specifically women economic empowerment. And because women lack sufficient technical or financial capacities and face different obstacles in legislation and social norms as to get access to financing, to accessing assets or financial services. So women entrepreneurs are judged by different standards, sometimes by financial intermediaries, and are perceived are providing greater risk. And to explain more specifically why I'm here, indeed, DG NEAR has a regional platform for private sector development in the Western Balkans called Enterprise Development Innovation Facility. In this platform, we are working together with different financing institutions like the European Investment Fund, the World Bank, European Investment Bank, and others, to try to develop private sector support programs in the Western Balkans from the side of providing capacity building, but also access to financing. And access to financing is the major part of our work by providing different types of guarantee schemes, lending programs, which are combining also grant elements, and also equity funding or venture capital. So we work with all those institutions, and our finance is the so-called blended finance, more sophisticated finance. And so far was never, targeting specifically women, because in anyhow it was very scarce to have such resources. I would like to mention that RCC is indeed our partner in this platform, and it's an observer, although it's not a financing institution, and we always appreciated the participation of the Regional Cooperation Council. Having in mind this important initiative today and all the recommendations which were provided, the interesting discussions, also the work that has been done between RCC and UNDP, I think it will be useful for us to have probably in the near future a short presentation within our platform to the IFIs we are working with, the international financing institutions, on what are the main challenges the women are facing, but not only the main challenges, but what could concretely be done as to improve the financial products the European Commission and those IFIs we are together implementing in the region, and to provide more equal opportunities for the women entrepreneurs to access funding. I see that there are many capacity building programs, and we are also working with the EBRD on Women in Business program. But for the access to financing, when it comes to really venture capital for startups, innovative companies, for when it comes to fintechs, when it comes to guarantee schemes where really women sometimes cannot show collateral as to benefit from lending for various social reasons, this could be targeted in a more specific way. And I think that a presentation and probably a set of recommendations to our platform will be very much welcome by RCC, which is our observer. And even we have meeting this week. RCC is invited already. It will not be in this meeting that probably we will have time to discuss this, but we can always plan and see how we can be of support. Indeed, I'm here also today because for our future support, and based on the economic and investment plan for the Western Balkans, which the European Commission adopted, we are really now exploring the best way to support women economic empowerment, and not only women economic empowerment, but women are also considered as an investment in the human capital. So women are first investment in as a human capital, and afterwards we have to really pay special attention to the economic empowerment. And we are discussing with many institutions what is the best as to avoid proliferation of initiatives and overlaps, as it was already said by previous speakers, that there are many initiatives and we have to very much pay attention. So I'm happy that I was part of this discussion today and have the opportunity to listen a lot. And I hope that we can build something more practical in the future, and especially to create this probably missing link between the women with their own experience of managing networks and own businesses, and the big donors or the big IFIs, which are gathered into this EU-led platform I'm representing today, as to see what can be done for the best. Thank you so much, and it was a pleasure to be here with you today.
Great, thank you very much. We're now going to go on to some sort of questions. Briefly, we've got a little bit of time for questions. There's one from Brizeda Yoza. She's asking about what's the best way to find information to support women entrepreneurs in Albania. But I think we'll just sort of expand that. So maybe there are, from the rest of you, or some of you might like to say, actually the best place to find information, the best place to find support is X or Y. I don't know who wants to come in on that. And actually, there's another question which is interesting, which comes from Ramila Matsi, who is the editor of an art magazine in Tirana. It says, knowing what you know now, is there anything that you'd have done differently when you were first starting out? And that says, Ramila says that's a question to all panelists, but okay, I've got two questions there. Who'd like to answer or be first to answer one of those questions?
I can answer
Cool.
to Griselda.
Okay, so Linda, go ahead, and then I can see Donieta after that.
Griselda is from Albania.
Yeah.
So regarding networking and training programs, you can contact me or Mirella Ancemandridi. There is currently a project in Albania called She Leads. It's still a project from Dutch government, and they are trying to put together all women entrepreneurs of Albania in order to help them and to support. As well, EBRD, I know that they are giving a lot of supports via training. There is a project called Business Advisory Services, and they give a lot of trainings and advice for small, medium enterprises. As well as for funding, EBRD has another project for women entrepreneurs, which support them with know-how, how to raise funds and how to access capital.
Great, thank you very much. Donieta, you've raised your hand there, so go ahead.
Yeah, I could answer the second question. Remila, was it?
Yes.
Thanks a lot, Remila. Very, very interesting question. So from my experience, there's plenty of lessons learned, but I'll maybe highlight 3. And first of all would be finding a mentor or coach early on and sticking to that coach, because you really need to have someone that you can really talk to and validate your ideas and everything that you have. Second would be, for me, delegating tasks. There's a tendency in the beginning to think that you can do everything alone and that nobody does it best than you. And then you start to understand when you grow a bit that you need to give tasks and hand out tasks to people so that they can actually have the chance to grow and learn, and maybe learn by failing and not doing the best that they can. And that's your role in a leadership. And maybe the third could be thinking global from the beginning, but also remembering that initially you have to work with an MVP, and remembering what the M stands for. And it's a minimum viable product. So you have to think global, but yet again, think and try out the product first and go minimum in what you can do and what you plan to do, so that you can test, iterate, and improve faster in the market.
Great, thank you very much. Sabina Softic is actually a specific question for you, which is, if a young woman wants to find a mentor in Bosnia, are there organizations? Where do they go? You're muted. You're muted. Sabina, you're mute. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay. I would definitely, I see it's the message from Amra. I would encourage her to reach out to me. There are a number of the organizations which are currently providing women with the mentorship. Deloitte and Adico Bank just finished the first mentoring academy for women. We plan to continue, but in addition to that, there is a strong network of really, I would say, strong and successful women business women. And I would gladly talk to Amra or to any of the young talents and try to connect them with a organization or with a particular person from their field that they could reach out to and agree mentorship.
Cool, great. Okay, well, we've got, some of you might have seen it already because it's a rather long question. It's from, it says, on behalf of the Kvina Till Kvina Foundation, saying mentorship, blah, 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 that's all fine, but these things do not directly address and reduce structural inequalities, such as harmonizing legislation with the EU standard when it comes to maternity leave. This is something that women's CSOs in the region are working on for decades, and the person asking the question, it says, Sofia Verbashki says, I would welcome discussion on how to include the work of women's CSOs in your respective work to address these barriers and improve the structural and foundational standing of Western Balkan women in entering the labour market. I don't know if anyone would like to address that. Would anyone like to come to talk about that? Some of these structural inequalities and what can be done about them? Come on, there's got to be someone who would like to pick up on this difficult question.
Can I? It's Daniela from UNDP. I'm not a member of the panel,
go ahead.
but I'm still.
Yeah, no, please, yes, go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, so I'm still here because it spans quite a number of the issues, and that's exactly what this action plan that we put forward. I mean, it is cognizant and recognizing the drivers of change, building on the barriers, right? And it is unquestionable that the root cause of these are some of the biases and cultural norms, and fundamentally the systems which were built not to work at the end for women, because the underlying assumption that was made around those systems in many countries is that what is the role of the woman or of a woman in the society. And the assumption is that the role of a woman in the society is not to be in the work, it's not to be a businesswoman. So I think that's why, in addition and on the top of everything that we discussed today, indeed that work on moving away from even if you harmonize the legislation, you get the legal equality. And somebody has already mentioned that does not necessarily mean the equality of opportunities in reality. Right, so it's a path that needs to happen, step by step, and in parallel. So I think that all of us, as we work in the different countries, we also in parallel, for example, from UNDP's and work with the governments on improving the frameworks for the participation of the civil society organizations, and sustain funding for the civil society organizations so they can make meaningful contributions, not to be a tick box consultations when the new legislation is prepared, but actually be involved and be part and parcel of the implementation and the feedback loops to improving gradually the implementation of the legislation and assumptions that are being made. So definitely from UNDP's, and I can put forward, we are in all 6 economies. We are always very open and very happy to connect with the civil society organizations, representatives who want to contribute and to the change in the region.
Great. I don't know if there's anybody else who'd like to sort of jump in on some of those questions there. I mean, Alexandra, I mean, in Brussels, maybe it's something that
yes, from policy point of view, this was part of my general remarks at the beginning, which I really skipped for the interest of time. But it's true that when in the process, I mean, in the pre-accession process, and I was also part of this process in Bulgaria years ago, those structural challenges and problems, they are part also of the negotiations, part of the acquis communautaire, which most and all of those of the countries in the region are also trying to comply with the time. And probably if it is still challenged today, in few years it should be more, how to say, normal to have a regulation or to have women-friendly norms at place which are compatible with the European Union's ones. And first and most, because one of the criteria to join the European Union is also competitiveness of the private sector and of the market, as to be able to join the EU single market. So also standards for women to do business will, with the time, little by little, really we become higher and better. And the role of also stakeholders like civil society, women in business, all networks, regional organizations, also cooperation between us beneficiaries is crucial to improve the entire ecosystem in which the private sector functions and women entrepreneur functions. In our platform for private sector, as I mentioned, RCC is an observer, but members are also representatives from different ministry. We have Innovation Agency from Serbia. We have Ministry of Economy from North Macedonia. We have all the 6 beneficiaries also represented by national authorities, and we often use this fora to pass also key messages and key recommendations on how to improve the entire regulatory framework, and how to make a real good policy reforms as to make the life of women easier in general, so not only when doing business.
Great. I mean, we haven't heard, Angela and Violetta, we haven't heard from you in these questions, but it's interesting that it's kind of very often said that kind of lots of stuff is done in the name of European integration and, you know, applying standards and rules and regulations, but they're just ticking boxes. And I wonder whether you'd face these problems in your businesses, that you think, fine, I can do this, but actually in reality, the reality is different from what it's supposed to be. I mean, Angela, do you want to pick that up first?
Absolutely, I want to, because I did experience exactly what you said.
Oh, tell us, what was your example?
Yeah, because other than my guide network that I mentioned previously, I am also a private business owner in Montenegro. It's a well-being travel center called Fit Camp Montenegro. And of course, we started with the idea, but we didn't have enough finance to support all that we needed. So we were trying to find the support from various institutions. And it's not always easy, you know. What is written in the paper is not always in the practice very easy to achieve. And this is the point that I mentioned earlier when discussing the first part, because the institutions usually don't have people who have the knowledge that should support you in the process of, like, I don't know, asking them financial sources to help you with starting your business or whenever it takes. There are, of course, examples that are, first of all, UNDP does a great job. On the other hand, also European Bank for Development also has nice programs. I don't know, various hubs that already exist are supporting entrepreneurs in Montenegro. But the major institutions that should be supporting you, starting your business or giving you a certain push and trusting your idea, I think that's something that Balkans still don't have, and that's something that we should work on all together to increase the opportunities for women all around, not only like in STEM or what I do in digital marketing and similar, but also for the rural development, which I believe Violetta will give a better insight. But anyhow, I would say that the support from the institutions should be supported also by the people who understand what are the market needs and what are actual business ideas that could support the general economy of the country to progress forward and actually give you the opportunity to grow.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Violetta, over to you.
I fully agree with Angela and what you said. There are so many obstacles and very little support. However, what knowledge does is a testament that it can be changed, and this is partly our role. So we're
sorry, Violetta, I'm going to jump in there, but just tell everybody who doesn't know, what is knowledge? Just remind everyone who doesn't know.
It's a business association, and a think tank works on business environment, means cutting red tape and simplifying procedures and creating policies that are good for doing business. And in doing so, we pay special attention to women, their role, and whether they're recognized and included when policies are created. No wonder that this is so, because the majority of employees in ALED are women, and not by chance, because the work that we do requires endurance, persistence, dialogue, listening, being able to hear and put it together into a meaningful policy, and not being competitive, but being supportive and considerate. So with the team that we have in our office, we were able to really move mountains for women in Serbia on the policy level, legislative level, for example, introducing stipulation in the law on cadastre that when people are getting married in Serbia, that joint property is immediately entered, registered as joint, as both his and hers. This created a lot of problems for women across Serbia. When people are getting divorced or something else happens, then it's a nightmare of court procedures to prove and to get what belongs to them, what they deserve. So this is just one of the examples, but at all levels, this is what we do in our efforts to make sure that women are recognized and that policies are sensitive to cover their needs. And it's definitely possible, but it's not at all easy. That's why we are trying to include as many men as possible in what we do, because they're the guarantee that these policies will be more inclusive in the future. And we are really proud that our results are seen as encouragement for women across Serbia. What we expect, though, is from women in the decision-making roles in our government and our institutions to stand up for themselves and for all of us, and not to be shy about it, and not to let their results be claimed by others. I have to say men, which frequently happens. They're usually second in charge and doing all the work and staying invisible. This is something that we are here to change and to work side by side by our male colleagues to show that we are equally capable and equally should be equally represented in all of our policies.
Great. Well, we're coasting towards the end now, so perhaps I'd just like to put sort of one question to all of you. We've got this initiative, the RCC UNDP initiative. The creation of the hub is coming. If there was just like one thing that you could like really insist was being done by this hub, or to improve the opportunities for women entrepreneurs in the region, what would it be? Perhaps I'll go from what I can see as my top left going down. Sabina Softic, what's the most important thing that you could do or you would suggest?
What is the most important thing is to do it yourself, really, to believe in you, to believe in yourself, to proactively seek support, to have courage, and to look for allies and supporters, and also very often among men, because those are still people who mainly make decisions in our environment. And to be honest, if it wasn't for a few good men who believed in me and my skills, I would probably not be here sitting talking to you. So I really believe that the destiny lies in your hands, and you just need to be brave and to take it, and also enjoy the ride while you are getting where you would like to get.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Next on my screen, I'm just going on a screen order here. Donieta Sachu in Kosovo.
Thank you, Stem. Very nice, Sabina. I also agree with that. I will also mention that. But I think one of the crucial things is that we're coming together as a region. And I don't think there is another entrepreneurial type of hub or structured sort of collaboration. And I think this is the first step, because we try to think locally first and then globally, but not regionally. And I think this will help a lot in thinking, changing the mindset of going regionally. And I think networking, but with a structure, is one of the first things I'd like to see in this hub, in the sense that you network with people, you meet new mentors and everyone else, but then you have a structured sort of follow-up that we can kind of understand and also weigh the effect of networking that can happen in the hub.
Cool. Okay. Next, Linda Shomo.
Yes, if there is one thing I would say that I fully agree with Danieta and Sabina, but I would say that it's very important to create a platform with all the maximum of database of women entrepreneurs in the region, because as I mentioned previously, we miss connections sometimes, we miss information. So if case all of us here, we contribute to create a common database of women entrepreneurs in Balkan, that could be a good start. Each of us can help with their own countries, and we start creating the membership, the future membership, and then I would say very important to create a structure about the needs of women entrepreneurs. I know that mentality is similar in our countries, but needs more or less might be different. So let's try to create the structure for that.
Great, thank you very much. Alexandra, you're in a slightly different position, but a database sounds like a good idea, and you're in charge of all sorts of programs and funds. Perhaps it'd be useful to you as well. Perhaps you could fund it. What do you think?
Yeah. In very different position, but I'm a woman and I come from Bulgaria, and I must admit that the mentality in the region is everywhere the same, and it takes time to change mentality. So with or without the accession, it takes time. And from my perspective, because to be on the serious note, yes, we have big financing resources. Yes, we already provided 200 million for the region and mobilized 1 billion. We've never had a gender specific program. And what I will just from practical point of view suggest to all the women here is that of course the fact that you are here, that you are successful, but what is important for the rest of those who are on the road, that is the challenges you faced. And the challenges you faced, they have to be very concretely described, and from your own experience, probably you should be able to provide some important insights, not only for those who do business, but also for those who take decisions and make policies, because you need those people as well as to make your life easier, and probably to find the right stakeholders to provide these policy recommendations, be it the chambers, the local chambers, but also the chambers, they have their regional structures, be it to platforms as the one I'm representing today, because you will always find a voice to represent your needs at appropriate level. And of course, if you have specific funding needs, it's good to provide concrete ideas on how this could be realized. And from my point of view, as a project manager of big guarantee schemes and lending programs, it will be really very interesting to see how, for example, we can support this equal participation of women in the labor market, how we can help them to access financing, how to improve their capacities, and how to build capacity in the financing institutions or the local intermediaries, the local banks, to provide tailor-made services, to provide tailor-made credit schemes for women, and how can we use blended finance to unlock gender smart capital. This will be very interesting for us because you are in the market dynamics, and for us it will be very, very important to know what exactly we have to tackle as a problem to provide you with access to finance.
Oops, I've got to... Can you hear me? It says I'm muted, but no, I'm not muted. No, you can hear me. Great. Okay, thank you very much. We're running out of time, but Violetta, you're next.
I would be very much in favor of joining the platform that the colleagues proposed, and I think this would be a great avenue for us to exchange in a very practical way the best practices from our countries, so that we can improve policies, practices. And what I would propose are joint campaigns, because they're usually a great intro for policy making, so that people become aware of the challenges that are posed before these groups. Just an example, in Serbia, I think UNDP or UN Women recently did a fantastic campaign. Posao nije samo ženska briga, meaning like family business is not just on the mom, on the women. It's a catchy phrase. And then they did a number of posters on joint parenthood and also installed baby changing tables in shopping centers around the city in men's rooms, so that fathers are also encouraged to take the baby and change the diapers. So these kind of campaigns that are very down to earth, very understandable and eye-opening.
Great.
This is something we could do together.
Super. Angela?
Tim, I will be super quick.
Great.
So the hub, my point of view is community creation, because I agree with Donjeta. We need regional collaboration. We need to connect in between each other to make this happen. And the second and the most important one, if you ask me, is breaking the stereotypes. So it's really important.
Great. Okay. Thank you very much. I'm sorry, Marinella Domancic, your question just came too late. I'm sorry, we're running out of time. And I'm now going to hand the word back to Daniela Gashbarikova, UNDP resident representative in Montenegro, and who is doing the lead between the RCC and UNDP over the initiative. So over to you. For your
Thank you very much, Tim. Thank you very much, the partners, the colleagues, participants, both in the listening mode, both in the participants in the panel. In conclusion, just 3 points from me that I took away from this conversation. And the first one, the message that resonates with me is all resounding voice that you put forward in supporting the logo that seeing is believing. In order for all of us to succeed, we need to see that somebody before us succeeded, and that it's possible also on our journey towards realizing our dreams. And in that regard, the importance of the role models, mentoring, and the role of the supporters who will be willing to extend their networks and share their experiences is key to not feel alone and not be alone on this journey, and continue to maintain the belief. The second key takeaway message from this conversation for me is that one size doesn't fit all, that tailor-made solutions geared towards the specific needs along the continuum of a journey that each woman or girl is experiencing, which is unique, very much depending on what her starting point is, what her background is, what her personal situation is critical. So while we may be putting frameworks in play to continue to put in place that lifting leg, that moves the girls and women, at the right moment, in the right direction, depending on their specific needs in that week, in that month, in that particular situation, is absolutely key. And the third, last but not least, is that point of shifting from the formal compliance-driven legal equality to equality of opportunities in reality, which address both the improvement of the women's capabilities in terms of building them up or putting them to work, but also creating the systems and the institutions that will be functioning and putting those formal policies and strategies actually to work and into implementation. And I like the last word of gender smart capital, always follow the money. So is there a gender smart capital? Are there the financial, and it goes back to economic recovery programs, the investment plans that are actually recognizing these differences in the needs that different groups of people, in this case men and women, may have, And are we able to follow them so that they actually work for the indicators and for the improvements in the situation of women that we want to see rather sooner than later? Thank you very much once again to all of you. And I very much look forward to interacting with you, to network with you. And it was really a pleasure for me. And I'm sure also for the colleagues, both from the RCC and from UNDP, to be part today of this conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I would just like to tell you that, just like to point out that some of various people have put various links and various suggestions of contact, etc., on the chat. And this is a last opportunity for you to have a look at it, because obviously it's about to disappear. Now, normally Majlinda Bregu would have said the last word for RCC, but unfortunately she's had to go. But Maja Handžiska Trendafilova, who's head of the program department at the RCC, is stepping in to give us a last word on behalf of the RCC. So
thank you. Thank you, Tim. Can you?
Yep, we can see you.
My video went
we can see you. Yeah.
So really, on behalf of RCC, let me thank all of the panelists for really your passionate contributions today, but also to the participants for the active interest. And in fact, not only during today's event, because we've been also reached out prior to the event with expressing strong interest in the topic. So we really do hope that the interest and connections will only grow. So on our side in the RCC, we have started by making women entrepreneurship support an integral part of the Common Regional Market Action Plan. We are now focusing on the establishment of the Regional Women Entrepreneurship Hub, so that it really serves as a both dialogue and an action a platform for women entrepreneurs in the region, but also connecting and as a bridge between our entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs, and all the wider stakeholders, be they coming from the public institutions, civil society sectors, academia, regional and other international organizations. As said by Madam Bregu at the onset, in the RCC, we are intensifying efforts and partnerships towards women economic empowerment, including through this joint initiative with UNDP. So during the first year of joint efforts, we accelerated work on the network of women in STEM. We are now going to launch this Women Entrepreneurship Hub, and we, of course, welcome further development of partnerships. The support for women economic empowerment agenda, including through the role model campaigns that we are doing, and we are going to continue through the direct support initiatives, such as our flagship Balkaton or Futurismo competitions, as well as our support for the mentoring scheme in the region will also continue. Together with the women associations in the region, we will explore additional support instruments, of course, through tailor-made programs for women-led businesses, aiming to address particular needs such as the required access to finance that was mentioned today. So if I can really sum up on a personal note, inspired by so many personal journeys that we had the honor to hear today, and this can-do attitude that was visible even through these virtual screens of ours today, and all the calls of actions that we heard today, we really heard strongly the words on opportunities, networking, empowerment, access to information, contacts, finance. So these are the things that we are going to build on, hopefully beyond the gender labeling that we mentioned here today. So we do have a long way to go, and this is the reality. Also in relation to the structural challenges and inequalities that rightly some of our participants in the chat mentioned. So for a successful regional hub in empowering women, we need to continue and extend this structured coordination between all the stakeholders that we are joining here today. So really thank you once again for your participation, and looking forward to working together and seeing each other in our future activities. So thank you very much, Tim, and back to you.
Well, I mean, thank you very much. And I mean, just a sort of final sentence, really. I mean, it's as I've said already, it's so refreshing to hear people being optimistic and to hear that there's actually so much going on in this field that is really not capturing the headlines in a way. So much of the sort of negative stuff that comes from the region does capture the headlines and is mostly spoken by men and is mostly a lot of hot air, even if it's aggressive hot air, if you can have such a thing. And it's great to hear women talking about positive things and getting things done in a serious and extremely sober manner. I would like to say thank you to everybody for organizing this panel and in general terms for pushing the women's empowerment agenda of the RCC and the UNDP, and in particular to Evisi Kopliku of the RCC and Katja Jurichkovic from UNDP in Podgorica for organizing this panel today. As we kind of wind down, we're going to see the couple of the videos that have been produced, and I would like to say thank you very much. This is your very last opportunity, but I can see that lots of new links and suggestions of contacts are being put up. So if you're interested in those, it's your really last opportunity to see them before they disappear. Thank you very much, and thanks very much also to the technical staff for doing this, organizing in the 6 Western Balkan countries, Brussels and London. Hopefully that's the Europe of the future. Thank you very much, and goodbye from London.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Just listen to him.
Moja poruka ženama da se udružuju, da stvaraju svoje kooperativne grupe preko kojih će ostvarivati svoje ciljeve u borbi za prava u društvu i politici, okruženju, u porodici.
Unë besoj që gratë janë të vetëdijshme për potencialin e tyre intelektual, po besoj se duhet bërë më shumë që ato të rrisin potencialin e tyre qeverisës dhe ta ushtrojnë atë çdo ditë.
Kom vendos me njëherë ëndrrën tem edhe me u bë gruaja që unë dua. Ti mundesh me bot njëjtën. Vetëm duhet më dëgju zemrën edhe duhet më dëgju gruan.
Не се плашете да сонувате, не се плашете да ги остварите своите соништа. Моќта на природата е во нас жените. Ние сме задолжени за похумано општество. Слушајте ги жените.
Well, it would be authentic. And one tip how to get there is actually surrounding yourself with other authentic women.
Well, I would say it's not easy and you'll face many problems on your business journey, but do your research good and make a solid plan. Be prepared and be persistent. Eventually, all the efforts you'll invest, and of course you will invest part of your soul, will pay off.